Greetings. It's Monday, November the 11th, 2024, Veterans Day in the United States. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. Well, it's been one heck of a week, hasn't it? And there's a lot of heck still going on. So I will get to what is a very long list of things to talk about right away. First off, President-elect Trump, that's what his formal title is now to those of you overseas. When someone's elected president, they are called president-elect, and then they become president. It will be January 20th, Inauguration Day. Traditionally, presidents didn't take office until the end of March, which was a good idea. Franklin Roosevelt changed that in 1945 because he had to get on with the war. I believe his last inauguration, his fourth time being elected, I believe that was just done at the White House, almost incidentally. So as a result, you see, we have to move things along very quickly. Trump is trying to do something called recess appointments, which means that cabinet officials will be appointed and put into office before they're formally approved by the Senate. Now, I could probably go into a detailed explanation. We don't have ministers in the United States, we have secretaries. That goes back to George Washington realizing that he needed people as assistants. I can do a special report on that, and I might include it in one coming up. But let's just say that he wants to hit the ground running, and that should be a reason for concern. You see, when somebody's on their way to being president, and if they're a former president, they're given intelligence reports by the CIA and other people on a daily basis as to what's really going on in the world. He does have a good handle on what is happening on planet Earth. And he is in a hurry. And that doesn't surprise me because there's probably a lot more nasty stuff going on behind the scenes out there than the average person realizes, than any of us realize. Some of the appointments he wants to put into positions of power immediately just came out overnight is a gentleman named Thomas Homan, who worked as the head of Immigration Customs Enforcement in his first administration. And this man is ruthless, and he's going to be what is termed the border czar. Now, everybody knows what the czars of Russia were, but in the United States, presidents have the ability to appoint somebody and give them special powers to get things done in a semi-dictatorial way, and that's usually called a czar. They're given a lot of resources, budget, personnel, and say, do it. He is going to be ruthless. And there's all sorts of stories coming out about U.S. military personnel being called into it, but the U.S. has been invaded. No more debate on the obvious, please. It's been invaded. And these people have to go back. Sadly, a lot of them are criminals. Many of them are with notorious gangs such as MS-13. And it will be a foregone conclusion that a lot of these criminal elements are going to be involved in shootouts. There's going to be some blood. And it's going to require a very strong hand. I really like the guy because one of my favorite things to see on YouTube or BitChute or even C-SPAN is when he really got into shouting matches with members of Congress. Contempt of Congress is a crime, but, this guy just reeks of contempt of congressmen, so it's interesting nothing ever happened to him. Anyways, he's going to probably do a brilliant job, and it's more of a very good sign that Trump is not going to be nice. The biggest fear many of us who want to see things restored to normal in this country is that Trump is going to be malevolent. No, that doesn't work and it won't work. Now, the big appointment that's really very significant and should silence all the people that think that Trump does not respect strong women is the appointment of Susie Wiles to be his chief of staff. Now, for those of you who don't understand how the U.S. federal government operates, especially the executive branch, which is headed up by the president, the chief of staff of the White House runs everything. That is probably the most powerful position of its kind in the whole government. The president sits behind the desk, makes phone calls, signs papers, makes decisions, but the person who gets everything done is the chief of staff. They are ruthless. Ruthless, another ruthless person. So anyone who thinks that Trump doesn't respect strong women, she is going to be in a position of where strength is everything. The first woman in that position, she ran a brilliant political campaign. She was his campaign manager. The lady has a background in D.C. She's been in lobbying for some industries, including pharmaceuticals. Now there's people that are attacking her for that. If she was a professional, it doesn't matter who you work for. I've been in that line of work myself, and whoever her customers were are not as important as who she is as a person. She is going to be interesting to watch. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, who would have been president if she had been a Republican a few years ago, my guess is she's going to be tapped for Secretary of State. She will be excellent in that position. She has everything that's required, including toughness. I mean, you don't make it to be a lieutenant colonel in the Army and a combat veteran by being a softie. RFK Jr., Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., what job he's going to have, it sounds like he's going to get 3 or 4 at the same time. My guess is he will be head of Health and Human Services. A lot of people in the so-called health industry are attacking him. Have you seen this guy's muscles? I mean, when he's doing weightlifting and when he's doing push-ups, I mean, I'm kind of sick of people in bad health involved in the bureaucracy of health. I think he will be quite something. But what his job is going to be, we aren't sure. There's a lot that's being talked about right now, but Trump wants to hit the ground running. There's already talk about people being sent out to other foreign countries to start meeting with them. Again, I think this is reason for concern. There's probably a lot more crap going on behind the scenes than would be healthy. Now, who is the big loser in this whole thing? Well, it's not necessarily the Democrats. They're kind of like zombies. They don't die easy. The one that's really going to be killed off is the legacy media. Having come from that background, I'm a little sad, but also at the same time, a little more than understanding. Has anyone bothered seeing some of this stuff? I looked over some of these stations. MSNBC is such a disgrace to brain cells. I can't believe people not only watch it, but pay for it. And that's the whole thing, is are these businesses viable anymore? Are they going to make money enough to survive? Where are they getting their funding? They get it traditionally through advertising. But these days, advertising is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago. And at the same time, all it's going to take to really finish them off is boycotts of the corporations that sponsor these organizations. I guarantee you, if there was a letter-writing campaign to XYZ Corporation because they sponsor MSNBC or CBS or something, they would take that very seriously. I don't see how they could be viable businesses anymore. I really don't. They've proven to be worthless. Their whole purpose of existence is to tell you what's going on, and they did an awful job of that. And because of the internet and because they're foolish enough to put their stuff up on YouTube, you can go in and watch it all. You can watch months and years worth of their coverage. And I don't care how low your IQ is, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, this is worthless. Just look at how many people subscribe to their channels or how many views they get per story. One sad thing I saw very early this morning was a 60 Minutes report. 60 Minutes was a news magazine CBS has had since I was a child. It used to be brilliant, and the people working on it used to be some of the best in broadcast journalism. I remember sitting down every Sunday with my father watching 60 Minutes. It was something we did. It was a family ritual because it was such good quality news. And they had a story on why Trump lost Pennsylvania, and it didn't have anything in it. They interviewed a couple of people, a barber, a former member of Congress who was a Democrat. They didn't talk about the Amish that came out, 120,000. They didn't talk about the Butler assassination attempt or the follow-up record rally that Trump had there. I was there. The big story was it was a wonderful demonstration of exactly how diverse his whole movement is. And it's not really his movement. He's just being pushed along by it. I never saw as much political diversity as I did at a Trump rally. Everybody was there. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, East Asian, Indian, Muslim, Arab, Christian, gay people, you name them, they were there, and they all wanted their country back. Now, that's the story of Pennsylvania, but no, they had to put this pathetic piece together, and I just shook my head saying, boy, they've lost it. The mainstream media is done. The legacy media is done. It really is. It's like somebody who swallowed a ball of plutonium. They're dead already. The body just hasn't caught up with it. People are going to be getting their information in different ways. Most people were following X during the election, and they were getting better coverage. It's really, really shocking. But this is all about drastically changing the way things happen in the United States, so it shouldn't really be all that surprising. Foreign leaders and governments and organizations are falling into line. Isn't it interesting? As soon as Trump gets elected, the Hamas people want peace. The Houthis down in Yemen, they don't want to do any more nasty stuff. Everybody in the world is thinking, the U.S. is back. Well, not exactly. They want to see the U.S. sane again. A very important, sobering point is the U.S., because of the Biden administration pushing sanctions against Russia, one time too many that sanctions were used as weapons, the U.S. is losing its power economically. The world currency will no longer be the U.S. dollar. It's not going to be replaced by a single currency. There will probably be several, but that's done. And that's how the U.S. was able to finance its debt for so long. Inflation is probably going to come back, folks, whether you like Mr. Trump or not. The head of the Federal Reserve was asked by a reporter, would he leave? If asked by the president, he said no. Wow. The Federal Reserve is not beholden to the United States government. We've known that for years, at least those of us who had open eyes. Now Americans are thinking, wow, we don't have control over our economy. It's done by a private handful of men who are not elected. Yeah. Scary, huh? You wonder why things are the way they are? Well, that's part of it. What's the old joke? What's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the headlines? About 6 months. What else is going on? Well, let's see. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York. I talked about her last week and how she's been involved in lawfare. She was told by Mike Davis, who's an ally of Trump, he's head of some judicial group, basically said that if she keeps this up, she's going to get her fat ass thrown in prison. I loved hearing that. Yes, she should have her fat ass thrown in prison. She's gone after all sorts of people using her position of power. I love the way she looked terrified at that press conference. They're scared of police officers getting into prison. Can you imagine an attorney general going into prison? I don't know exactly what they'd put her in prison for, but the worm has turned. There's a lot of people like her in the United States, by the way. She's just been very overt about it. But lawfare, which is the use of the legal system to destroy somebody outside of the courtroom, in other words, bankrupt them, has been going on for some time. If you are put under special investigation by a grand jury and you have to hire an attorney and you have to constantly defend yourself during a quote-unquote investigation, you're going to lose everything. Then they're going to come to you and say, here's the choice. You either go bankrupt and your family's on the street, or you plead to this charge. That's how it works. We do not have a justice system in the United States. We have a legal system. Big difference. Will that end? Well, There's a lot that's being promised by the Trump people, and that's one thing that needs to end. There's a lot that is going to be coming down over the next few days, weeks, and of course, months. The biggest danger is that Trump will become a softy or cut deals with the wrong people. You see, folks, it's not going to go back to normal. It's going to have to be something new. It's going to have to be something different. And it's come out exactly how mentally off-center the leftist side of this country is, really. And they've done no better job than demonstrating that. Now, I'm going to address something that a lot of you listening to me are not going to want to hear, especially if you are a woman who has worked hard, studied hard, raised a family, in many cases, wished to be a productive member of society. Well, over the last few days, the internet's been flooded with images of mostly women having what we term meltdowns over the election of Donald Trump. And for a while, this was entertaining and fun. Oh, look at the meltdowns. Oh, look at these crazy cat ladies. For a few days, it was fun and funny. But you know when you're at a party or an event or a diplomatic soiree and you see someone making a total ass out of themselves to the point where you don't want to be around them anymore? You question their sanity. Everyone's holding their drink and looking at each other in the eyes thinking, we better get out of here. This is nuts. Well, that's what's happened. The problem is that because of the way men and women have been taught over the last several decades, and that is to be adversaries and not allies, men have been suspicious of women for a very long time. That's why a lot of them gave up dating. They can't trust the crazy. A lot of women have been pushed into positions because of diversity hiring that they weren't capable of, like the previous head of the Secret Service who, well, we all know about her. These women, these females, who supported Kamala Harris, not because she was capable, she wasn't, not because she was competent, she wasn't, not because she was a decent person, she's not. They supported her solely because she was a woman. And they thought, it's about time we have a woman president. Well, we have to go on merit. Lady entering the White House as chief of staff, Susie Wiles, it'll be interesting to see where she goes. Tulsi Gabbard, most likely she'll be the first American female president if she plays her cards right. These women who supported and then went crazy over Kamala Harris not winning, they have done so much damage to all women in business and politics, it sickens me. Now, I have been on the receiving end of discrimination. I lived in foreign countries and I got to experience it there, but nothing was as bad as coming back to the United States some years ago and finding out that because I'm a heterosexual older white man, job opportunities were not what they used to be. Now, they don't tell you to your face. They come up with excuses like you're overqualified. You hear that a lot. Or we found someone more suitable for the position. I was even told when I was applying for one really wonderful media job that they initially really wanted me for, eventually they said, oh, we think you'd be bored because you were a foreign correspondent once. And I said, no, I wouldn't. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And it was a real wake-up call as to what goes on in this country. Now, they don't tell you to your face the real reason why, but you can tell. Sure, you can go hire a lawyer and sue them, but you can't prove it. I guarantee you, I promise you, as much as it hurts me to say this, that a lot of women out there are going to have fewer opportunities because of this insanity that was the 2024 election and the aftermath. Has anyone ever seen that show, The View? I've seen bits and pieces of it. I got to actually see an entire episode the other day. They're crazy. These ladies, these females, they're nuts. They are nuts. Just the nonsense coming out of their mouths is unbelievable. Now, if you're running a business, if you're running a government agency, and you're a man, you are going to look at women very differently now. As disturbing as that sounds, that's the real McCoy, folks. So if someone comes in looking for a job and they're not married, don't have kids, they're immediately going to raise suspicion. When you have been subjected to armies of women screaming and boasting they've had 20-something abortions, after what we've seen, anybody who has anything to risk in a business or any other endeavor is going to be very, very suspicious of female job applicants or even people to promote in their organization. If you're the one in your office who thought that Kamala Harris was the second coming, I guarantee you even other women are going to find you possibly something to be avoided. What really bothers me is that a lot of very hard-working women out there are going to suffer because of this craziness. That's just the way people are. There's not going to be any formal thing, but if you show up and you're maybe 30 and you're not married with no kids and you come across as a feminist type, the men are going to be thinking to themselves, I don't want her. Is that right? Depends on the circumstances. You don't want crazy people. The U.S. has gone nuts. That's the real reason Trump won, you know. The real reason is everybody is sick of the insanity. They're sick of men showing up in women's bathrooms or men becoming women so they could beat another female boxer senseless at the Olympics. People are tired of the nonsense. And whenever people fight back and win, things go a little bit too far in some places. But realistically, I think that women's rights have been set back in this country many years. It's hard to tell how far. And the real tragedy is it was done by women who purported to be for women's rights. You see, men and women are different. We're meant to complement each other. We're not meant to fight each other. Having children, raising a family is a natural progression of civilization. Sitting in a cubicle in a glass tower making PowerPoint presentations is not. This is not to say that women can't have careers and can't be leaders of countries. But they have to get there on merit just like any man. The one thing that will happen as a result of this, if we are fortunate and blessed, is that diversity hiring people for positions merely to fill some sort of social desire, will end. People should only be in positions of power, authority, or responsibility because they are capable and have earned it. So, the women hearing me right now, I would urge you to do this. Sort out your ranks. Because the amount of insanity we've seen broadcast all over the internet is going to be there for years. That being said, I think you're going to see more strong women come to the political forefront under the Trump years to come than you have in many, because you're going to see women of capability. You're going to see women of character. You're going to see women who are fighters and winners. Not women who, shall we say, got to their jobs because of who they knew and how they knew them. You're going to see women come into power because they will have earned it. Because the day of diversity hiring, if we are blessed, is at an end. That's it for today. If you appreciate these broadcasts and my writings and my photography, please like and subscribe. Consider a paid subscription. There will be an increasing amount of material only available to paid subscribers, such as Meditations, which comes out on Sunday. I do have a fundraiser for new equipment. I've been asked to start doing videos with some people, and I have to upgrade my gear. If you want to contact me, you can reach me at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. The quickest way is probably up at the origin of this podcast, which is Substack. You can send me a note there. The address is aureliancolumn.substack.com. You can see my posts up on X. May the gods bless you, Elon Musk. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. I'm up on Telegram. I'm up on Gab, a few other places if you look for me. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember, Clown World and the deep state must be destroyed. Good day.